It was almost 11:30 at night. Raihan was standing in front of the emergency department of the city's largest government hospital. His eyes were sleepless, his face looked tired. His father had been hospitalized for the past 3 days. Although his condition was better than before, the doctors still couldn't fully reassure him. Raihan's head was pounding from sitting in the hospital corridor all day. The familiar smell of the hospital, a mixture of medicine, disinfectant, and human anxiety, still stuck in his nose. The doctor told him to go home and rest since he had nothing else to do for the night. Raihan left the hospital and stood on the road. A light fog had begun to fall. The distant lights looked blurry. A rickshaw was available, but he didn't have much money in his pocket, so he decided to walk home. There were 2 ways to reach home. A main road, where there were lights and people, but you had to turn around. Another shortcut. That path went along the banks of the old lake. The place is very beautiful during the day. It is crowded with lovers, families, and children. But as night falls, a strange silence descends around the lake. Raihan usually did not go that way at night, but that day his body was so tired that he did not want to turn around. He slowly walked towards the lake. As he reached the shore of the lake, the world seemed to change. The sound of city cars could no longer be heard. Only the light rustling of the wind, occasionally the call of an unknown bird, and the sound of small waves on the black water. The water of the lake was so still that the distant light was reflected in it like a mirror. Raihan started walking. The sound of his shoes could be heard clearly on the deserted path. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Suddenly he felt like he could hear the sound of another pair of feet. He stopped. The sound also stopped. Raihan looked around. No one. Blaming his tired mind, he started walking again. After walking a little distance, he saw a bench. Someone was sitting on the bench. A girl, wearing a white dress. Her long hair fell past her shoulders. The girl was sitting, looking at the lake. Raihan was surprised. At this time of night? Alone? In this deserted place? He felt like he might be in trouble. He slowly walked forward. The girl was still looking at the lake. Suddenly, without looking, he said, "Are you returning from the hospital?" He looked at the girl, and what he saw was the most terrifying scene of his life. The girl's face was slowly changing. Her pale skin was getting whiter. Her hair was getting wet. Water was dripping from her clothes. Her eyes were turning deep black. It was like endless darkness. The girl said slowly, "I drowned 5 years ago. In this lake. I died before I was taken to the hospital. I couldn't return home." As she spoke, her voice seemed to be coming from afar. Raihan's body went numb. He couldn't move. He couldn't even scream. The girl took a step forward. Then she said, "Today, after all these years, someone listened to me. Thank you." The next moment, the fog around him thickened. Raihan couldn't see anything. When he regained consciousness, it was dawn. He was lying on the bank of the lake. A few people were standing around. One of them said, "Brother, did you spend the night here?" Raihan didn't answer. That afternoon, out of curiosity, he went to look for old newspapers. After much searching, his eyes fell on a report. 5 years ago, a university student had drowned in the lake on her way home at night. Her photo was next to the report. Raihan's hands started shaking, because the girl in the photo was the same girl. The same face. The same smile. Many years had passed since then. Raihan's father had recovered and returned home. Life had also returned to normal. But sometimes late at night, when the wind blows outside the window, he still hears a soft voice. "Thank you for listening to me." And then the foggy lake, the deserted bridge, and the girl in the white dress, who might still be looking for her way home, appear before his eyes. Rayhan's chest trembled. Yes, but how did you know? The girl slowly turned her head to look. Her face was very beautiful, but strangely pale. He smiled softly and said, "You can tell by looking at your eyes. Those who return from the hospital have a different kind of tiredness in their eyes." Rayhan didn't say anything. It was strange, but not entirely wrong. The girl said, "Would you like to sit down for a while?" Rayhan sat down on the other side of the bench with a tired body. There was silence between the two for a while. There was nothing but the sound of the lake water. Suddenly the girl asked, "Who is admitted to the hospital with you?" "Dad." "How is the situation?" "A little better now." The girl shook her head. Then she said in a low voice, "Lucky." Rayhan was surprised. "Why?" The girl didn't answer, just stared at the water. After a few minutes she said, "You know, people are most lonely in the hospital." Rayhan listened silently. When someone stands between life and death, even if there are hundreds of people around them, they are still alone. Hearing those words, Rayhan's body tingled. For some reason, it felt like the girl was talking about her own experience. The night deepened. A light mist had descended. Rayhan stood up. "I should go." The girl stood up too. "I'll go too." "Where?" "Over there." He pointed to the opposite side of the lake. The two started walking side by side. As they walked, Rayhan noticed something strange. His own breath looked like smoke in the cold air. But the girl's breath was not visible. He convinced himself. Maybe he was seeing wrong. After walking a little further, he noticed another thing. The sound of his own shoes could be clearly heard. But there was no sound of the girl's footsteps. Not at all. As if she wasn't walking. She was floating. Unease slowly began to build in Rayhan's chest. Finally, they reached an old bridge. Below the bridge was the deepest part of the lake. The girl stopped there, then she said, "Here." "What is here?" "My house." Rayhan looked around. There was no house anywhere, only black water and thick fog. Suddenly the girl asked, "Are you afraid of death?" Rayhan shivered at the question. "I don't know." The girl smiled softly. "Everyone is afraid. I got it too." Just then the air suddenly became cold. Unusually cold. Rayhan's breathing began to quicken.